This is the Pardo 72, the all-new flagship of its endurance range. And in a sector where style really matters, this big Italian is dripping with it, and it must, because it's up against the likes of the Azimut CDEX 7, the Absolute Navetta 70 and the Blue Game BG74. Here at the stern, it has a hydraulic bathing platform and a garage large enough to fit a 4-metre tender. A huge pair of folding balconies in the cockpit that are almost half the length of the entire boat, and they connect directly to the saloon via this set of sliding doors. And below deck, there are 4 guest cabins, including a full beam owner's suite with separate access amidships. Up top, it has a really good sized flybridge with the option to have either a bimini or a fixed T-top, and from the upper helm, you're in control of a pair of Volvo Penta IPS1350s with 1,000 horsepower each. But before I find out what it's like to drive, I'm going to give you a full tour on the other side of the Atlantic. I'm Jack Haynes, welcome to YachtBuyer. The Endurance 72 sits proudly at the top of Pardo's slow cruising range. It has a length overall of 22 metres, a beam of around 5.5 metres, and with its IPS pod drives, the draft is just 1.7 metres. Its displacement is around 50 tonnes. So, what is it like? Let's find out. Oh, and if you like what you're watching, please give the video a like, hit subscribe, and click the bell icon. We'd appreciate it. Now, we don't have much time with the boat today, so here in Mallorca we're going to focus on the sea trial, but luckily we filmed an in-depth tour at the Palm Beach Boat Show, so I'm going to hand over to American Jack in Florida, and I'll see you back here for the test drive afterwards. Enjoy it. As I alluded to in the intro, back here we've both got a hydraulic bathing platform and a tender garage, which is nice. The tender's completely cleared away, leaving this platform totally free. If you want to go for a swim, do water sports, the tender is cleared out the way. Obviously it sinks low down into the water as well, so it makes getting on and off very comfortable. It's a long space as well. There's plenty of real estate down here, and you've got nice equal access up into the cockpit. This is quite a neat arrangement. The winches are actually set inside the cleat, so you don't have to have a separate bollard, so you can tension with them and then tie them off, which is quite nice. The other thing they've got here is these little lockers. They've got holes inside them, so you can run the lines down into there and keep them neatly stashed away so the lines aren't lying on deck. I like that. I also like these balconies. They are a cost option, but they're huge. They're quite wide. They're also very long. They take up pretty much half the boat when they're down, so they give you a really useful amount of extra space. There's some good storage down here as well, just a nice long locker, perfect for keeping all your cleaning supplies. And then you come into the cockpit itself. It's quite a short overhang actually, but they've got this big canopy as well that comes out a long way and pretty much fully shades this sunpad if you want it to. And this is quite flexible as well. We've seen this kind of design on Pardos before, but all 3 of these are on ratchets, so you can pop these up, stop them in a few different positions. So if you're dining, you'd have it out like that, and then you can just put them flat again, and it turns back into a sunpad. The other thing is you've got drawer fridges underneath on both sides as well. The galley is just in there, but always nice that you've got cold drinks to hand. I quite like that arrangement. And another key feature inside this cockpit is an optional 3rd station for the joystick. It is an IPS boat, so it's all joystick control. Down here you have a joystick and a repeater for the thruster, so if you're mooring stern to, you're in a really good position. And here we can really easily see how well this boat flows together. It feels very much like the Azimut CDEX 7, I have to say, because you have the aft door, you have the side door, and it really opens this area up. There's also an optional drop-down window by the galley. It's a breezy morning here in Florida, so we're getting this lovely through breeze. No need for air conditioning today. It opens it up really nicely, and you've got a side door over there as well. But we're going to get into the interior in a moment. For now, let's stay on deck and head up front. In true Pardo style, no guardrails, but very nice high top side, so you do feel good and protected when you're moving around. Lovely big chunky pop-up cleats as well, and because there are no railings, of course there's nowhere to hang the fenders, so you have got these sockets, which are good and bad in my opinion. Very quick to take on and off. However, they are fixed where these points are, so you can't adjust them depending on what type of dock you're on. But that's just a compromise you have to make if you want to go with this type of fender arrangement, I suppose. And then what they have right forward is a really lovely lounging area, completely flat up here as well. And you've got this really nice mix of opposing sofas. Again, we've got fridges up here as well, so you can have cold drinks up here. You've got cup holders, places for your odds and ends, and it's sociable. There's no table, but you can sit here, have a drink, relax, and then right forward, more sunbathing space, and even a bench right forward. You know, these are nice places to sit on a warm Mediterranean Floridian evening, heading back to the berth in the sun. This is a really nice place to be, catching the breeze. You've got a repeater of these cleats. Again, they've got the winches inset, and nice to see these big fairleads in there as well. Hidden anchor arrangement, access to that is underneath this cushion, and then this is actually where the crew cabin is. But we're gonna go in there later, because for now, I wanna show you that saloon. Heading aft, so I mentioned the split access to accommodation. Well, that one there, that forward passage is down to a pair of twin cabins, and this is the main internal seating area. And I get it, it's not a boat that you're probably going to spend too much time sitting inside watching TV. That's not really the idea, but this does feel a little bit waiting room, all along the same side, sitting next to each other. Okay, there's this small bench here, but that really is quite small. The TV, incidentally, is over here. That's a drop down, so that pops up and sort of takes up the space where that window is. At least that is opposite the bigger portion of the sofa. And this here is the access down to the owner's cabin and another guest cabin. We'll pop down there in a second. And then right aft, this is where we find the galley. It's very clean, very minimalist, but it is well kitted out. You've got domestic size fridge and freezer. You can see you've got induction cooking with ventilation above, but this window, as I said, that is an option, but that's really nice. Great for ventilation if you do happen to be cooking inside, because there isn't a wet bar down here, so that's quite nice. You've got a lovely big sink as well, wine cooler. It's really well kitted out and very, very close to the dining table, which does, you know, take up quite a lot of space in here. Most of the time, I'd say people are going to be eating out there, but you have got a good sized table in here if you want it. And of course, the key thing is it's really open to the elements. So even if you are forced to dine inside for whatever reason, you've still got that nice connection to the outside with this sliding door, but also the aft door slides across really nicely as well. It's a pretty good arrangement. Right, let's head downstairs and have a look at the owner's cabin. It's not just the owner's cabin in this section, there is another double guest cabin as well. That's got an ensuite, and this is the day head, designed for guests to come down in the day and be able to use the facilities. And don't forget that right forward through that separate passageway, you've got a pair of identical twins. But let's continue into the owner's cabin, because that is clearly the main event down here. I like the design in this cabin, the way that the bureau becomes this partition and a bit of a lobby into the area. Lovely big mirror on the way in as well, and most of your hanging storage is contained over on that side. There's a bit more sort of drawer storage all around here. You're not short of storage down here, take my word for it. There's a sofa over there as well, nice big bedside tables on both sides, and repeaters down there for lighting, air conditioning, so you can control everything, including the blinds, from your bed. And this is a design that we're seeing more and more across multiple brands, but it works very well in this sort of packaging. So you've got a split shower cubicle forward, toilet there, and then twin sinks, which is rather nice. And then maybe the most pointless doors ever, because you can close them but still see through them. Let's have a look at that guest cabin. So this then is the VIP cabin. Quite unique to have it right next to the owner's cabin. You don't see that very often, but privacy is maintained because you have got a decent sized ensuite in here, and actually it's got a lobby similar to the one in the owner's cabin where you've got all your storage as well. And it does give you flexibility. So you've got guests on board, they can be up front in the twins, and the owner and their kids can be in here, or the guests can have this section, and it makes it really quite flexible. But this is a nice cabin. Great head heights, good sized bed that you can walk all the way around. It's got a TV as well, its own little slice of whole window. It's nicely done. Let's head forward and take a look at those twins. Right then, right forward we have got identical twins. I've just come to the starboard side, I want to show you it is exactly the same over there. And you know what? They're good cabins. Plenty of space in here. Berths are a little bit narrow, but they have left enough space down the middle so you can walk around pretty easily. Storage isn't bad either. There's a decent hanging locker behind this door, and obviously you've got your TV here. Personally, I think I'd have had a smaller one and put it behind the door because it just sticks out a little bit there, but you know, it's a decent size for a cabin like this. And bear in mind, you've got the crew cabin just through that bulkhead as well. We're going to go there in a moment. Before we do, let's have a quick look at the bathroom. It's a little bit tight in this bit, but they have managed to work in a separate shower cubicle, which is always nice. Means you're not going to get this area wet when you're having a shower. Once you've got your sink and a porthole for a bit of ventilation, it's pretty nice. Now, before we check out the crew cabin, let's head right to the top and look at the Flybridge. The Flybridge is where you get some of the biggest benefits over the smaller model in the range, and it's also bigger than the Foredeck 7s, about the same size as the Navetta 70s. Very, very stylish as well. There are a few cost options though. This boat has quite a few cost options, and they're pretty expensive, and this is one of them, this sort of sunbathing section, which you're going to want obviously, but it's nicely done. It's big, it's wide, it's got Pop-up backrest, little details like this wooden section here where you can safely keep your phone, a couple of shallow cup holders, and then overhead you've got, similar to downstairs, this shade that pops out a long way again, so you can put some shelter over here if you want to. The T-top is a $170,000 option. You can save yourself about $150,000 by just going for the bimini, but I think certainly in sunnier climes people are going to want the ease, the flexibility of this, and you've still got a slatted sunroof, so it doesn't open up quite as well as a canvas roof, but it does give you a bit of flexibility overhead. The table is a decent size, and there is enough space to bring up a couple of chairs and put them this size if you want to, and it's got a really good wet bar. Nice detail down here with a couple of champagne coolers built into that step, and look at this, nicely finished with the teak top, teak fascias, big sink, induction grill there. You've got the sliding chopping board, which is quite a nice feature, and then behind here you've got the usual stuff, storage, fridge, ice maker. It's really well kitted out, nothing like that downstairs obviously, but if you want to serve people up here, you've got all the equipment to do it. And then adjacent to the helm station, you've got this seating area. It's quite clever, it'll work well enough when you're moving along. Some people won't like sitting sideways, but it does mean that you can use it when the boat's stationary as well. People are facing back into this area, and it's a bit more sociable. Welcome to the crew cabin, and this boat is on the cusp, I would say, of being a crewed boat. Some owners will definitely run with them. It does come as standard, but if you want to run it yourself, then you know you've just got some part-time berths down here or a really good storage space. It's also home to the washer dryer, not that convenient for guests, but obviously the crew can do the laundry in here and it's away from the accommodation. You've got a couple of bunks on this side. No headroom once you're down, isn't too bad, and it has got a nice separate bathroom. I'd say if crewing is your priority, there are competitors to this boat that have better crew cabins. Right, let's go and check out the engine room. Engine room access is via this hatch in the cockpit. Now, as convenient as the tender garage is on deck, down here is where you find the compromise, and that is headroom is very restricted in the middle of this space, over where you find the quick gyroscopic stabiliser. One of the two generators, one is standard, one is optional, but there is very little clearance over the top of them because you have to account for the hull of the tender to go somewhere. The good news is the engines are sort of outside of this overhead obstruction, so inspecting them, getting around them, certainly outboard isn't too bad. And then once you get down towards the back end of the engine room where you've got the pods, again, headroom goes up again, so pretty easy to expect the outer edges, but down the middle you're going to be clambering around quite a lot. Engineering side, Pardo are generally very good at this stuff in my experience, and it's no different here. Nice big stainless steel fuel tank with sight gauges, twin filters on those as well, so you can switch across if one gets blocked. You've got the Glendenning auto reel system for the shore power cable. That's nice kit, so it's all very nicely put together. You just got the compromise of this overhead obstruction. It's not every day we have to split a video between two continents, but the benefit is you're going to see parts of both boats during this video, and there's actually a key difference between them. The one in America had the fixed hardtop, this one has the bimini, which is currently down, so it gives you, temporary shade. But what is quite nice, on a day like this where it's not absolutely roasting hot, the sun isn't blaring, you can have views of the endless sky. You're not covered in any way, which really is pretty rare these days in a sector like this. And the endurance range, well, that is designed to be slightly slower, more efficient for longer journeys. So the anchor is on the way up. Let's see what it can do. If you want more detail on pricing, read my written review. I'll put a link in the description below and I go into a bit more detail there about exactly what options you might need. Essentially, you're looking at 3.9 million euros starting price. And then for this boat with the bigger engines, in fact, pretty much every major option except for that T-top, it's 5.9 million euros excluding VAT. But as I said, more detail on that in the written review. Now then, how does he drive? Well, this is quite an interesting line for Pardo because they have the GT line, that is the speedy one. There's a GT75 that'll do nearly 40 knots. This is not that type of boat. We've got 28 knots out of it top end, actually just shy of that. They claim 28 knots, we hit 26 earlier on. But it's actually designed really to do an efficient 12 knots for a longer range. That is what they wanted to create with this boat, to sit alongside that faster GT range. This is for owners who aren't in such a hurry, they want to enjoy the journey a little bit more, and because they're designing a hull which they wanted to be nice and efficient, slip through the water quietly, they've got what they call as eco speed at around 12 knots. So the hull is just gently sort of slipping through the water. You've got quite a fine entry and then it shallows off a fair bit, towards the end to increase stability, but also if you do want to get a move on, it doesn't need to be so much power to get up and onto the plane. So here at 12 knots, you've got a range of just shy of 1,000 nautical miles, and if you were doing that on a maybe traditional IPS boat, you'd have to be going quite a bit slower than that, I think sub 10 knots. So you can still move along at a nice pace where the boat feels steady, but you've got huge range. And the nice thing about this design though is if you do want to get a move on, you've still got 2,000 horsepower down there, so you're not stuck at 12 or 14 knots. If the weather's coming in and you want to get back and up it to 22, 23 even, top out at 25, 26, you can. So it's got a really nice flexible cruising range. And the handling, you know, it's not really anything to write home about. But as I said, this is not what this line is about with Pardo. They've got the sexy, speedy, fun open boats, and they've got the GT line. This is very much more sedate and relaxing and designed to travel for longer distances. And it fits that bill really nicely. It's a bit more ponderous in the turns, not exciting in any way. But really, this is a boat designed just to sit in a straight line and chew up the miles. And although there is a bit of breeze around, as you can probably hear, there's not really much to test the hull out here, but it just sort of wafts along. And I've actually tested the smaller version of this, the Endurance 60. We've got a test of that on the channel, and it's a very similar feeling. You just get used to sort of pushing through the water with real serenity. It's cosseting. It's a nice relaxing ride. You can imagine drifting along at 12 knots and just enjoying the ride, guests moving around the boat comfortably. You know, stabilisation wise, it's got a gyro, it's not got fins, so you're not getting much of that effect when you're up at speed, but obviously when you're stationary, that really comes into play. Yeah, what about in this helm position? Well, it's a little bit form over function, and it's the same with downstairs, as we'll see in a moment. This bench looks lovely, but if I sit on it, because it's in the bolster at the moment, I'm just too low and too far back here. I can't even see the bow, and I just don't really like that feeling. So I find myself perching up on here, which means with the low windscreen, you really do get a bit of a blasting from the wind, but the view is perfectly fine from here, and at least it's wide enough that a couple of people can sit up here. And you're just a little bit too far away from everything. It's not a boat that is designed to be engaged with by the driver. You can see from the ergonomics, they want you to just basically put it on autopilot, sit back and admire the view. You've got twin MFD, so all of your information is really nicely presented. You've got some cup holders down here, some shallow storage here. But yeah, it's a really nice looking helm, just lacking a little bit of functionality. And let's see how it copes from downstairs, shall we? But down here, we have quite a similar arrangement to upstairs, really. A slightly narrower version of the same seat, and it suffers the same issues. When you're like this, it sort of forces you to sit back and enjoy the ride, but it does also bolster, so you can lean, and that is, yeah, that's a comfortable position. Certainly if you're going through heavy weather, just raises you up a bit, gives you a better view forward, and a really nice commanding view of this dashboard, which is really good. I really like the layout of this. Big screens, nice and upright, so you can see everything really clearly. You've got a smaller Volvo Penta screen down at the dash level, lower dash level as well, so you've always got somewhere where you've got your engine information, because maybe you want to have the radar here and the charts up here. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility. And like upstairs, it's just a really stylish helm design. Really, really nice to look at. All the major controls are nice and close. You've got the throttles this side, joystick on this side. We're going to get onto that when we go into the marina. There's a couple of different places you can berth this boat from, obviously. IPS engine options only, so you always get the joystick no matter which option you go for. And this has got the largest 1350s, so 1,000 horsepower per side. You can get the slightly smaller ones, but honestly, I think this is the engine option to go for. You know, for that sort of cruising band that I was talking about upstairs, it just makes sense to have the larger engines. And also, if you're looking at the second-hand market, I think buyers are going to want the larger engines on the options list. So a sensible decision, and works really well with the type of performance they wanted to get from this boat. The all-round view is very good here. You've got mullions, but they've split them, so they're not too wide, and you've got this little window here, so you've not got blind spots of stuff coming from either side. And obviously the all-round view is good because you've got a really, really big glass area. And you're well in contact with people in here. There's this seating arranged on the starboard side. You can get a couple of people here, so you can have a navigator right next to you, but the rest of the crew can align themselves down there and enjoy the ride. I mean, they're sat quite low. This is really the only place where you can sit and look forward down here. But in good weather, you're all going to be up in the Flybridge, aren't you? Enjoying that space up there.
We've actually got the rear door open at the moment, but despite that, sound levels are really well contained. We're now travelling along at 21 knots, and you can feel it just romping over this really light swell we've got here. It's just a very easy boat to handle, you know, because it's not designed to travel at high speed. You just settle into it. You accept the fact that you cruise a bit more slowly and enjoy the ride. But this is a boat that I feel sort of sits on the edge of being crew run. It has got a crew cabin, as you've seen during the tour, but because of its style and because of its control system, manageable for an experienced owner. But also the true test of that is what it's like to put into a berth. So let's head into Portagiano and see how it fares. Right, we're just lining up with the berth, doing everything on the joystick. This boat has got DPS, so it will hold itself in position if you need it to, if you're preparing lines and fenders. But we're just turning now to align with the berth and head back in. Now, it has got a third station in the cockpit, but the view is so good from down here, and with this side door, this feels like a really natural place to do it, especially as we're sort of coming up to a boat on our port side. So I can spot that really easily from here. Full sideways move just to line us up with the berth. Now I was just getting a little bit ahead. Of course, in a different scenario, having that station in the cockpit could be really handy, but for here, this is good. Just letting the boat's momentum drift us in towards the Sunseeker next to us. Take the edge off the touch, and head back in. Just catching the bow a bit with the breeze, but actually not needing the bow thruster at this stage. It has got a bow thruster, but I've got cameras as well. I've got the surround view, so I can see from there, but it's nice to be able to look at myself. The cameras are good for seeing the dock at the aft. Lines are on. And then in the med mooring, once the lines are on, you just let the guide in the lines guide you, because they'll be tightening them up astern, pulling up the ground line, and the boat is sort of suspended between the two. Yeah, we did all that without using the bow thruster. I know I always talk about needing the bow thruster with IPS. I think it's a nice thing to have, but in the right conditions, it can all be done on the joystick. And that entire manoeuvre was all done on the joystick. There you go, let's wrap it up. If there are two themes I'm seeing at the moment, it's the ability to expand your deck space, specifically balconies in the cockpit, and it's a way to cruise more slowly and go further. And the Endurance 72 taps into that perfectly. The way that this transforms its main deck when you drop the anchor is spectacular. That deck is an oasis when you're on anchor, and lots of brands in the sector do it different ways. I think they've hit the nail on the head with the arrangement they've got down there. There are compromises. The guest cabins, I think, are smaller than rivals of this size. The crew cabin's pretty compromised, and it's got quite a narrow saloon. But if you want something that you can comfortably cover the miles on, live aboard with a big serving of Italian style, this is the one. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Thanks for watching that transatlantic sea trial and tour of the Pardo Endurance 72. I hope you enjoyed it. If you thought, oh, that's nice, but I want something a bit smaller, more manageable, well, we've done Endurance 60. You can watch that review up there. If you'd like to subscribe, you can do that by clicking up here. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Jack Haynes. This is YachtBuyer.